So if you're putting a new window in and you really don't know what to do because some of the wood around the window where the frame is showing, there's a couple of different methods. So Meadow likes the drywall method because she doesn't scratch it because she goes for the wood to scratch. But if you have scrap pieces of drywall, this is how you can save money by reusing and recycling those scrap pieces of drywall, a little bit of spackle and a couple pieces of metal, and you could turn your window into a beautiful side capping just like this and get rid of all that wood. I'm gonna show you how right now. All right, so we put this window in, and then I showed you how to use the great stuff up here and fill in all these like little gaps, big ones, small ones, all this all the way down. So then we just took a knife and we cut all that flat. Now there was a pretty big gap up here. You could have probably stuck a piece of wood in here all the way across, but I didn't have one at the time when I put the window in. So we just filled this with great stuff. Now what we're gonna do to make the outside of the window look better is we're gonna cut pieces of drywall that go all the way down like this. And this isn't the actual piece for this size because it's too small, but I'm gonna show you kind of like what we're doing. We're gonna cut pieces of drywall and put them in and match them up. And then we're gonna get this little steel piece that goes in between. It's a triangle, like it goes like this. And you screw it in both sides and you put a spackle over it. And if anything ever bangs against the wall, it won't crush just all the drywall in, you know? So we're gonna go all the way around. We're probably gonna do two pieces up top here. So you see if we do one, we kind of get most of it. And then we'll do another piece of drywall on top and that'll seal the window in. And then we can go all the way around. It'll give us that nice finish. And then here in the corner, if you want, you could put 1/4 inch round molding trim. So I don't know if we're gonna get to the molding trim or not, but let's go ahead and do these caps, drywall caps around your fresh new window so you know how to do it. So the first piece I'm gonna do is the bottom panel here. I think this window is a 66 long. So it was 2 windows here, but I took it out and put one big window. So there was a hole here where I dug out the old nasty drywall. They had a strip of drywall, but I just filled it with great stuff and then cut it flat. And then what we're gonna do is we have a real small piece of drywall trim like this. And then we're gonna put that in and make the back and then make a piece on top. So I have a piece on top that's gonna fit flush that I cut this piece off of. And what I'm gonna do is, once I put that in, this piece will butt up to it perfectly. And we'll put our piece of metal on there and we'll put our spackle on and then it'll seal this. So then right here where the quarter, see this is called 1/4 inch molding. See it only goes 1/4 of a way. If it was a circle, it'd be 4 of the 4 quarters, but this is only 1/4. We're gonna then take this molding and go all the way down and you'll never see any of this over again. First things first though, because this is so small going this way, we're gonna put a piece this way first so we have more meat to put this way to make the pinch piece. So let's go ahead and measure ourselves out a piece, get it in here, get it set, and then we can match the base piece up to it. All right, so I cut a piece out that is about the same length and width all the way down, but I noticed there's a lag bolt here. There was they cut some of the wood out, but I had some extra caulking, so I just kind of filled it in with the caulking. That way that there's some kind of cushion underneath and the drywall never, you know, if it gets cold, hot, or whatever, it'll never sink down in there. Now, when I put the drywall on top, it was bumping up, so I had to measure where it was at and cut it down just a little bit. So now it'll go on flat and you won't have that bump. And you could just cut this out with a razor blade and dig at it or pick at it or cut it out with a a knife and scrape it with a screwdriver, whatever you want. I cut the little piece out and I dug it out. Now it's on there perfectly. It fits on there perfectly. So now there's no bump, because before it made a little bump here. And I just feel like if I would have not cut it out, eventually there would have been a crack in the drywall here or a crack here where it finally settled. And we don't want to do that. So we're all the way to the end here on both pieces. And now I'm gonna go ahead and screw this in. I'm gonna screw this in, and then all the places where I tried to get it super close to the wood, but it's just a little bumped over, I'm gonna take the Sawzall or the little little cut saw that I used to cut the drywall, the variable saw, and we're just gonna taper that in and cut some of that flat again, and then we can get the cap piece on. Okay, so I only put one on each side, one in the middle, because we're gonna put that piece of metal on here I'm gonna introduce you to. And then I cut it, and then I put the little cap piece on. Now I'm reusing this cap piece from something that was a piece of drywall that I took off the wall. I didn't like the size. One piece was sticking out too much, so I cut this 2 inches, 1.5 inches off, so it had some pre-holes in it, but I don't care about that. That's gonna be filled up with spackle. Now I'm gonna show you how to cut this with the saw and take it all the way down, and before we put the cap on, before we put the corner brace on. All right, so now that we got all the drywall scraps all bolted in, and anywhere if there was a little bit of a gap, you could put a little plaster in there and sand it down and make it more solid. Now we're gonna take this corner piece. This is called a metal corner or an edging corner, or I don't know the technical term, but we're gonna measure this. So I measured this, and I really don't need to, like right here, you see how you just stick it in and come up, and then just grab the pliers here, or the cutting shear, and just make them. Just gonna cut it on both sides. I'm just gonna put it on here. Now, I like to stick it on here and push on it and spread it out on the piece itself before I do anything, so it gives it a shape, because it's actually pinched a little more closed than what you want. And if you do it by hand all the way, it's gonna look all wavy. You'll never get it done. It's ruined. Now I'm just gonna get the drill and drill a couple holes in where I like it, and then we're gonna put some spackle on this, wait for it to dry. When I do it the first time, I kind of cake it on with the little one, just so I don't make a mess. And then I'll take a larger one and go over it so it goes from the back all the way in. But when we're doing it, we're gonna get a close up of that. So I'm just gonna put a few regular nails in it, space them out. Now we're off the spackling. I'm just gonna throw some on there real quick, glob it on, scrape it off, let it dry. It'll kind of form to what we want it to be. Give it a quick little sand, and then we'll go over it with a nice finishing. It's gonna look great. All right, so I mixed up some of our spackle here, and I'm just gonna slap it on. So, I'm not worried about getting it on the window, I mean, I'm not going crazy. I'm not worried about getting it on the window or getting it on the wood underneath, because all of that is going to be stained and colored as well. I'm just trying to, you know, play with it here a little bit, get some on. Now, when you're doing this on the bottom, it's easy to just slap it on. But when you're doing it on the side, you have to just do a little bit and then put a little more on and slap it on. A little more, you know, a little more. It takes a little longer. But so like here on the side, you know, it could be all over the place. It also depends on how wet your spackle is as well. You know, I mixed this one, so it's a little wet. I could have made it a little thicker. But like I said, I'm just trying to get done. And I want to get done quickly, you know, so I can move on to the next project. So I'm just gonna add a little extra, just like a gloop top here, you know. And just slap some on all over the place. You know what I mean? All right. And on the bottom here, I'm just gonna, you know. Now this is the one that we care about. So make sure your blade is clean. Make sure your spreading blade is clean. And you're gonna go from the corner, touch this corner to the wall, and this corner to the bead break here. On the first time, all we're doing is forming. We're not making it pretty yet. And that's why you need one that's longer than the piece. We couldn't do that with the small one. So we're just gonna form in, right? And just kind of slowly. We don't want to push too hard because we're not digging in. Like there's little chunks and stuff in there. We made this drywall ourselves. So we're just gonna go over real quick, you know. And that's it, you know. And you got a little bit left. And we're just gonna do the same thing on the bottom, just kind of slide and not really make a mess, not really push too hard. We're just kind of forming what we want it to be basically. So, I mean, it's pretty square there already. Now, it's a decent day out. It's probably about 63 degrees. I got the window open down here, no heat on. And we're just gonna let this sit in the sun. I've already done these two sides, stage one. So we're gonna sand this down. We're gonna let this dry, move on to another project. I'm gonna come back and show you how to just touch this up real quick with the sand and then a once over to get that nice and fine, and then it'll be ready for paint. All right, so we got our metal down and we got our spackle going on, and I just kind of clumped it all over the place. And I did one quick one just to form how it's gonna be. So let's get a little look at it. I think it's coming along really well. I think you guys are gonna be amazed. I hope that the people that stuck through this video, I'm just glad you did, because this is gonna save you a lot of money and make you happy to do this yourself. So let's take a little look at it. So this is what it looks like so far. And we just kind of formed it, you know, like I touched it here by accident here. So it's drying. This is almost dry over here. So like on the sides and on the top, I had to like put a little bit, and then go down. And then I waited for it to dry. And then I did a second coat, and the same thing on the top. Actually, that is my first coat. So this is gonna be a second coat. Second coat will make it form pretty decent. You are gonna have to sand this a little bit just to get a form in this. But you see where it was starting to drip, and I barely even put any on. But on the bottom, you can do it in almost the first one. So that's why I did these first, because they were harder, and I knew I was gonna need 2 days or like a whole day to dry and then put a second coat. But I could show you guys on the bottom just one coat and how it sets up really nice. So you're not gonna get that on the sides because you don't want it to drip or like look wavy where it's thicker, you know, because it slid a little bit. You wanna just go easy, let it dry a few hours, do one quick little wipe over sand, not a lot, just to knock down like the boogers here, like you see this kind of stuff, and then do it over again like we did on the bottom, and it'll all be catching up. Now that it's kind of dry here, you see I dropped the boogers down. Now it's kind of dry. I feel it's still wet, but by the time I put the second mock-up on here and let this dry, because it's so thinner, this will be ready to go. We'll do all little sand and it's gonna look perfect. I wanted to get a better view. So once I put that piece in, you can see right here that it's sticking past, but only about a ½ inch. So once I screw this into place here, then we're just gonna take that saw with the blade and cut against the wall over. So you can see we're gonna just take that blade and cut straight down, I'll show you, and then it'll make it flat. So all these pieces really did fit perfectly. You know, all these trim pieces like this that you cut off, these little pieces that people think are garbage and worthless, I do the whole seal with all these different pieces. Now, like, I did 2 up there, but you see it's thick. There's a lot of window. I'm gonna put another piece up here, but make it solid all the way across and just go drywall on drywall, because I don't have a piece of wood to put up in here. But you see when I do 2 drywalls, it's gonna bring it down perfectly and set it perfect in, and then we'll just do the quarter round around it. So don't throw these drywall pieces away, you know what I mean? Now, I usually don't film vertical, but I want you to pay attention to what I'm doing here to the strip. So I got another strip, and I'm just gonna put it in. We're gonna screw it into the frame. So I'm gonna hold it where it needs to be. Get it ready. Kind of figure out where the frame is here. Lose the battery, but you can see what I'm doing. And then I'm gonna tighten it to the top as close as I can get it up here and put it in. Battery's dead. But I wanted you to see long how it looks. Then I'll put another 2 in the middle here when I change the battery out 2 screws. And then I'm gonna go behind here and use the saw to cut this way and go against along the wall with the blade and cut this completely flat. All right, so as you can see, I've got my protective gear on, my PPE. Now that I got LASIK surgery, I don't want to waste the $4,000 so I can see again, so I have to wear safety goggles. I would advise, even if you have glasses, to always put goggles on. They do make glasses that go over, safety glasses that go over your glasses, because I've had them for years. Also, ear protection, because this saw is loud, and we're gonna go ahead and cut this edge off. Let's get right into it. So now we've cut off all the little excess stuff and it's completely flat. Doesn't matter about this little scratching here, because you have to get another piece of metal which goes on here, and then you're going to screw those 2 pieces of corner together. You know what I mean? So even if you used 1 piece here instead of 2 like I did, you still have to put that piece on and then spackle over and get it over. You know what I mean? And we had to extend an extra 2x4 here because the window, when I measured the old window, the window was 2 windows put in wrong, had too much of a gap. So we closed the gap solid all the way over there and put a 2x4 in here, and we had just barely enough room to shim. So that's why we put this to extend over, and then now to extend in. All right, so now that we have the piece in, it does have a little separation here where I was cutting it, and you know, I'm not cutting it exactly straight. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put the tiniest little bit of spackle in here so that when I put the tape on, the new sticky tape, and then spackle over that to go down to meet up with the piece of metal we're gonna put here, that it doesn't ever dip. You know, so we're just gonna pack that, and it takes just a little tiny bit. So I did this side already. You can see what I'm talking about. I just took a little tiny bit, you see? We just packed it closed. And I went all the way up. And I'm just gonna take the sandpaper real quick and go like 1, 2 down. Roll a little piece of tape on here, and then go down. And then before I spackle it in, I'm gonna put that, the corner piece in, the metal corner shield. And I have to pick those up at the store today, and then we're gonna be getting those tomorrow and putting those in. So I just wanted to demonstrate a little bit. You just get a putty knife here, a little bit of spackle, a little bit, and you're just gonna kind of work it in and go down. It doesn't have to be pretty because you're putting a piece of tape on here. You're just filling it in a little bit, you know what I mean? I'm even doing it with my left hand. And this spackle, this stuff is so cheap. So now when we put the tape on top of this little mess right here, so I'll give that 24 hours and I'll go do something else. It's only like 75 degrees today. If it was more than that, I'd give it maybe a few hours and then tape over it. But I'm gonna give it a whole day, then we're gonna run the tape down, then we're gonna put the corner bead in, then we're gonna put a little more so we can flatten that with this together. Then we'll get a larger putty knife, one that's this big, and we'll go all the way down, and it'll make one nice solid piece. All right, so I never film up and down, but sometimes I just want to get that shot, you know what I mean? And this was our first lay-in, and it's super thin. I'm just gonna sand it for like really quick. I'm not trying to form anything. I just wanted to get some on, so it'll put some in where the indentation is, and now we're gonna slap some more on and come over. But first we're just gonna give it, so make sure that the sand block is larger than the item. So if the sand block was only this big, then you couldn't really do it this way. If you want to get it flat, get a sand block and go with it. And just push against the bottom back here and this. So I push against these, and then I don't push in the middle, because if you push in the middle, you don't want to get a divot. Don't worry about these corners too much. If you want, you can put a piece of molding across where we are also, so you can not see the hole that we didn't get to fill in all the way. This is still a little wet though, since we did this last and we did it so perfect. I'm gonna go ahead now and lay another coat here thick, then take my large spreader and fan it out a little farther than where it is. So it's about 3 inches right now. We're gonna fan it out to about 4.5 inches to get a wider angle, because then it won't be as, if it's 3 inches, the angle might be like this, but if it's 5 inches, the angle might be smaller, so you can't see the transition, and it'll smooth it all out. So I'm gonna go ahead and get some more work done, finish sanding all around here. We're gonna put our second application on, and I think we're gonna be just about ready to prime and paint. All right, so I just want to show you guys the window. The window is all feathered in. It looks great. I'm gonna do a little close-up now so you can see what it looks like, but I'm very, very proud of how it came out. Now, there's no molding done yet, but that's gonna be another video. This video is just to show you how you can take small pieces of drywall and make your own capping, coping, capping, however you say it. And instead of putting wood here, I like the drywall finished look. So let's turn the camera around and get a look at this final product. So here it is. Now, I haven't painted, so you can still see a little piece of metal where it's smooth, but it's so smooth right here. Metal, is it smooth? It's smooth. She's giving it the okay right now. You know? Look how smooth, 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 smooth. And once you paint this, you'll never see it'll look like a professional put it in. Everything's smooth, smooth. Smooth, smooth, smooth. It's gonna look great. Oh, it's gonna look great. So I hope you are able to save some money if you change your windows or you have broken wood or busted up drywall around your window. This is how you can just bust all that out and then start over, and you see how to use the piece of metal, put the drywall in, put the piece of metal in, and then put the spackle over it. And then like, this is a little touch-up spot that I did. So I just did a little over with a little spackle, and I'm just gonna kind of wipe that off. You don't really even need to sand this. You could take a damp cloth and it'll just make it smooth as well. All right, so let's kind of put things in perspective. People are gonna comment down below and say, oh, you're just wasting nails, you're wasting spackle, you're wasting tape. Just cut one solid piece and throw that junk away. But let's break it down. So this is a roll of the spackle tape, self-sticky, so you don't have to pre-spackle and then put the tape on and spackle over. That's old school. I think I got this. This is not the mold resistant one. There's a green one, it's like $2 more. Always buy that. But this one I think was like $8, and I got this whole roll. And this is my second roll, and I've done probably half of the house already. So I'll be able to do this whole apartment. If I tore all the drywall out of this room up here, I would still have more than a roll. And it would probably be like 15 sheets, 20 sheets of drywall, including the ceiling, you know? This bucket of nails, this bucket of drywall screws that I got, number 2, 1 1/4 inch. This is 25 pounds of nails. I think it was $25. I bought this 2 years ago, and I've already done a half bathroom, a large bathroom, a kitchen, and now I'm doing this room, and we've only hit 1/4 of the nails. $25. I'm gonna do the whole house. And if you get a 5-gallon tub of drywall, this is just to show you a 5-gallon bucket. A 5-gallon bucket of drywall can do half of a house, or like maybe 3 or 4 large rooms. Large. It'll probably go with the tape. You know, you use one whole tape, you use one whole bucket. This I think was $12. But one sheet of drywall, 4 foot by 8 foot, is $15. Now, if you need 10 sheets, that's $150 just the drywall. And you could buy this for 15, this for 10, and the nails for 25. That's $50 and do half of your house. So what's more important to save? The drywall that costs $15 for a small piece, or you can get all this stuff for $50. I'm gonna save the drywall. So I'm gonna continue to save all my pieces of drywall, put it in, waste this stuff that doesn't cost any money, and save on the gypsum. So you do what you want, but I'm here to show you how to recycle, save money, save all this. You're saving the environment with all this. Come on, man, let's get some work done. You know? So thanks for coming to Disturbing Creations DIY. I hope this built your confidence and saved you some money. Hit subscribe and like. It helps us out a lot so we can do more projects to help you guys out.